Welcome to Legacy Boxing Showcase of New Mexico, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with my co-host, Austin Killeen. And, you know, Austin, in our second segment, we're going to have David Rios, a friend of yours and someone I know quite, not as well as you do, but he's a boxing referee and a heck of a good one. And we'll have him on in our second segment to talk about, and he told me about some of the things he has to do to be a referee and the work he's had to put in and the classes he's had to go through. And it's extensive. It really is. And I think, you know, I used to referee high school basketball for 22 years. And let's face it, you know, and I was listening the other day on the radio about, they were talking about basketball referees and someone likened them to, you know, cops with guns and badges that just want to, you know, stop people. And it made it sound so horrific. Referees are needed in everything, boxing, soccer, hockey, you know.
It's also sounded derogatory towards police.
Right. Well, you know, this was just somebody's view.
Right.
A player, you know, former players, they're having a lot of problems in the NBA with referees and players. And, you know, I think boxing referees, and you think about Mills Lane and Richard Steele, and God, there's so many of them that I think of throughout the years.
I met Richard 2 weeks ago at the Buffalo Thunder.
Tell us about that, because you know what? I think Mike Adams, the co-host of On the Mic, or the host, I'm sorry, of On the Mic with Mike Adams, where he and I were talking about Meldrick Taylor and Julio Cesar Chavez as a fight back in 1990. And that fight there, again, very controversial. Yeah, I think that Richard Steele made the right decision, although it was very controversial. It looked like Taylor might have been able to beat that count. But he took a tremendous beating that night, a tremendous beating. I still see it. Richard Steele looking right into his eyes, called the fight. Lou Duval goes crazy. So tell us about what your meeting with him was about.
Well, he was handling a fighter from Cuba who fought that night. His name was Sanchez. I forget his first name. And he fought no, I can't think of it, Eastman that evening, and it was a mismatch. He destroyed Eastman. And but getting back to Richard Steele as a referee, and I think David, our guest, will back me up in this. You have no idea how many seconds have gone by in a round, because when I refereed, you're into the fight itself. And so he got criticized because there was 3 seconds left in the round, in the 15th round. And if he hadn't stopped it, Meldrick Taylor would have been the new champion.
Yeah, you know what, and we'll talk more about that with David Rios, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Austin, but recently Proview Networks had a chance to interview Josh Pitbull Torres. Let's take a look.
Get up early first thing in the morning, go for our run, get our sprints in. I go to work. As soon as I get out, come home, train, hit it hard, rope, shadow, mitts, heavy bag, cardio, strength and conditioning, everything that we need to be prepared for March 17th. The kind of work that we put in the gym and the reasons that we fight. We have a lot of motivation, a lot of purpose in our fights, so that it gives us a little, you know, extra push when we're struggling in those later rounds trying to dig deep. I fight for my family, of course. I fight because I enjoy it. I feel if you don't like what you do, then you shouldn't be doing it, and boxing is something that I've grown to love, something I enjoy. So I'm very excited to come out March 17th and fill the Route 66 Casino for a great event.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts, like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Welcome back to Legacy Boxing Showcase of New Mexico, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with my co-host, Austin Colleen. And now in studio joining us is David Rios, a referee, an amateur and pro. He's also a former kickboxer and bodybuilder and physical trainer. And if you can't tell, David's well put together, great guy, heck of a referee. David, we've got some questions to ask for you, and I'm going to start it off here. I've seen you work a couple of shows where I was the ring announcer, and and then you told me too that there's so much work involved. I think that people don't know about being a referee. First of all, I told you that I refereed high school basketball for 22 years, and as a referee, sometimes you're always a bad guy. You didn't break the clinch enough, or you stopped the fight too soon. They're throwing elbows, so you hear things on the boxing end that I used to hear as a referee from basketball. You're a hometowner, you hate my kid, things like that. So you got to drown out a lot of that, be objective, professional, fair, the whole thing. What got you interested in boxing, being a boxing official, Dave?
I grew up in boxing. Watching Muhammad Ali, watching Foreman, Frazier, all them. And I just love the sport. I used to fight for Henry and Naya, and I had a fight with them, and then I was up in age and I wanted to turn pro, and about a month and a half before I was going to turn pro, I get hit by a drunk driver and destroyed my career, but it's okay. I am where I'm at, I guess because of that, and I just love boxing, and I love being a ref, I love being in there. The main thing and foremost is taking care of the boxers, making sure their safety is the #1 priority. And but I tell you what, I have the best seat in the house, and I love it. I love boxing.
I think in a way, you're saying that you wanted to be a referee in boxing was like me wanting to be a referee with basketball. I coached, I played and I coached, and then people, to be a basketball official or any official, it's hard because people think for whatever reason they're going to have their decision made up about you no matter what.
Right.
If their fighter loses or wins, you weren't in there enough, and you let them, the wins and everything's, it's okay. So it's a tough job. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And I know you had to do a lot of classes and courses and things like that. I'm going to turn it over to Austin. I know he's got some questions for you too.
Well, first of all, I coached and refereed basketball. And one night I had to do a doubleheader, and the other referee, after the first game, had to coach his team. So I'm refereeing the second game. He was my worst heckler. I looked over.
And yeah, you wouldn't think that, right?
No, we had just done a game together, and I'm looking over, and this guy is driving me nuts.
Yeah, one friend you think you have and you didn't. That's funny. Yeah.
So I stopped the game and gave him a technical, which they had to hose him down.
Yeah.
So you never know. But there's similarities in every sport that you referee.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have a referee, the referee's job is simple. Make sure the playing field is level. That's all.
Well, they say that the judges have the boxers' careers in their hands. The referees have their lives in their hands.
Well,
so
that's a good point.
That's the way I look at it, because when I went to the WBC conference, they showed us 10 fights before we left, And the 10 fights they showed us were fighters that died in the ring. That, and you're talking famous referees were there. And they had, you know, it was a split second, but it was too late because we really didn't know about, or they didn't know about the fighters coming into the fight, that if they were in shape or they're, you know, they passed their physical background and all that, but it was awful. And after me seeing those fights really changed my outlook on protecting the fighters even more. And training and training and training, and I'm still going to be doing a lot of more training because I'm still young in this. Just coming up, when I came back, it's been a little over 2 years now that I've come back to be a ref, and I love it. I love the doing amateurs, because you see the kids progress, and Aaron Perez, right? You know, and how he progressed, and how he's going to fight his first pro fight, and it's really awesome and cool to see when they were amateurs to now.
He was our guest in studio for our first show, and I'll tell you what, that kid was enjoyable, man. He really was. He's going to be a big star.
Oh yeah, yes he is.
And he was shy at first, started kind of busting out of his cocoon towards the end of the interview. But you can't help but like that kid. I mean, he's so likable.
Yeah, he's a nice
and you know, anyway, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, you know, you talk about the fighters being safe, and some of those fights that you may have seen. One that comes to mind for me was when Dooku Kim, you know, he got Ray Mancini.
Ray Mancini killed him.
He got killed. Yeah. But you know what? So and then
I saw that. I was watching that on.
That was 1985, 86.
On ABC Sports when it came on Saturdays.
Right.
Yep. Yep. And that they brought that up. That was one of the fights they had showed. That and I forgot who was reffing that, but I think that's when they started going from 15 rounds to 12 rounds.
That's right.
They stopped
everything.
Go ahead, Austin. Then, so.
I thought that was one of the biggest mistakes in boxing, going to the 12-round fight. They never did a study. They just came out and changed things around. And when you have an even number of rounds, you tend to have more draws. One of the things about the 15-round, well, two things. You had real champions. You had to be in condition because one fighter got stopped, and I certainly don't diminish the loss of a life. But the 15-round boxing was bigger then than it is today, and it's gotten ridiculous with all these champions. But that was one of the first, that really hurt boxing, going to the 12-round fight. I thought it was a huge mistake.
Well, it's an interesting, take from Austin, who's been around the fight game a long time. I thought the other fight that I remember seeing, and they didn't stop it soon enough, was Berto Duran and Davey Moore.
Oh, right.
Now, Duran is pulverizing him. I mean, really gave him a whipping. He really did. And the referee's looking, and I remember thinking, you know, Duran is one of my favorite fighters. And I remember after the fight, and I saw it on replay on CBS Sports Spectacular with Tim Ryan. You know, who could forget Tim Ryan, man? Tim Ryan was one heck of a boxing broadcaster. And I remember when I watched that, I think
Davey Moore stayed in the hospital for a while after that.
No, he took a tremendous whipping, and they also said that Duran inadvertently or purposely had thumbed him. So, you know, I mean, and he was coming over, and Moore couldn't see. He really couldn't defend himself.
Right.
And I remember after the fight, someone climbed in the ring and was really letting that referee. He probably never got a big assignment again after that. So I think with that, David, I think the things you're talking about, you have to be so conscious. And I've watched you. I've watched you work, man. You know, so talk a little bit about how it is in the ring. I mean, you know, everybody can sit there. What's your responsibilities?
Well, one time we did fights in I think it was Hobbs. So it was the end of the round, and I saw that the fighter was cut, you know, and bruised on the eye. So I was watching him, and he goes over to the corner, and then I look at the other fighter because, like you were talking about heckling and stuff. I don't hear anything outside that ring. My focus is on those two fighters. And so when anybody says, the only time I ever see or hear anything is if the commission gets a hold of me. But my focus is on those two fighters. So the fighter goes back and he sits down, and I'm watching, making sure that they're working on the eye. When they got up, because the guy was in my way. The DI was in my way to where I couldn't really see that good. But when they got up, and I looked at the other fight, I looked at his opponent, and I looked at him. His eye was so big, so fat, and I knew I was going to stop the fight. So I got a hold of the doctor, and I told him, I said, hey, as soon as I'm going to start the fight, because it was going to, the rest time was over. So as soon as the rest time was over, I stopped the fight, I stopped the count, and the fighter went over to the doctor, and he stopped it right away. But that was, you have to look at, just protecting the fighters. I had an amateur fight, and the kid was winning the fight. And next thing you know it, he gets hit and he gets knocked out. And next thing you know it, we're taking him out on the stretcher. You know, everything is so fast, and you have to be on your toes all the time. So by people heckling and all that, I don't hear anything.
Right.
My focus is straight on those two fighters.
What I call laser focus. That's what the focus I had as a basketball official. You know, and not the same kind of, people aren't hitting each other, but I had to make sure that I wasn't listening to the guy, the fifth row, tell me how bad so I had to drown that out as well. And I've watched you, like I said, I see your concentration level. You're looking, you're making sure everybody's safe, because if something goes wrong, we always said this in basketball, and it's a different thing. You can call a good, there's 32 minutes in a basketball game, and you could have a good 31 minutes, and all of a sudden it goes to pot the last 2 minutes in your game. You don't remember the good about it, you remember the bad. Austin, we got about 3 minutes left in this segment. I want you to get a few questions.
Well, I find that referees are no different than fighters. They have a style. And Joe Cortez, to me, never let fighters fight on the inside. Kenny Bayless always gave off a nervousness in his refereeing. And Michael Ortega, Gaspar's son, I think he has a quick hook when someone gets rocked a little bit. And I had rabbit ears. When I fought, I used to play to the audience. And when I refereed, I'd hear things. And I don't know why, but I just always did. I didn't try to let it bother me, but when I refereed, I could hear comments.
You know, and a lot of my experience and help has come through Rocky Burke and helping me because, he's a veteran. And he's taught me so much. I mean, in split second. Split second, a fighter can be hurt.
That's a good mentor.
And
that's a good mentor.
I tell you what,
right
I learned so much from him.
Hall of Famer.
And I'm still learning from him.
Go ahead, Austin.
Rocky has a tendency to let fights go because in his first pro debut, he was on the floor. And he had to get up and the referee let the fight continue, and he ultimately knocked his opponent out in the third round. So Rocky doesn't want to stop a fight too quickly. And if you follow anybody around in life, they're going to make mistakes. And
well, he also told me that you can be the best referee there is, but once you make one little mistake, they'll never forget it.
Ruby Goldstein refereed Benny Kipperett against Emil Griffith. That was when I was a kid.
Okay, that fight was, we got about a minute left in this segment.
That's all that Ruby Goldstein's famous for. He was an outstanding fighter and an outstanding referee. But he killed Benny Kipperett.
And that was it for him. David, real quick, we got about a minute left. Talk to us about what's next for David Rios as far as your development as a boxing referee.
I'm going to be doing some fights here for amateur on the 24th. And then for, what's the name?
Ray
Zamora. And then on the March 3rd, I got asked to do amateur fighting for undercard, pro card at Ignacio, Colorado. One of the girls that I'm helping doing strength training and doing conditioning, Victoria Cisneros, she's going to be fighting for 2 titles against a lady named Layla McCarter, who is under Mayweather Promotions. And so right now that's what's happening, and I'm hoping to get called, if I'm lucky, for March 17th. But
for the Route to Glory at Legacy Boxing Promotions. Dave Rios, a referee, amateur and pro, thanks so much for joining us on Legacy Boxing Showcase.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Austin.
We'll be back to Legacy Boxing Showcase in New Mexico after these messages.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Locally loved restaurants like Farina Pizzeria, Farina Alto, and the Artichoke Cafe are the perfect venue for your next event. Farina Alto has traditional Italian food plus handcrafted cocktails in a beautiful Northeast Heights location. Farina Pizzeria with a downtown vibe, amazing affordable wines, and local beer. And the Artichoke Cafe has set the standard for casual fine dining since 1989. Visit our family of restaurants and see what fine dining is all about.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, #life change will occur.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Hey, New Mexico, come check out the newly remodeled guest rooms at the new Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center, featuring 309 rooms, 30,000 square feet of meeting space. New Mexico's only indoor water park featuring the Wave Runner. 2,200 square foot fitness center with hydro massage chairs. Also enjoy breakfast at our new Manzanita Grill and watch your favorite team play at Altitude Sports Bar and Grill. It's all at Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center.
Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Welcome back to Legacy Boxing Showcase in New Mexico, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with my co-host, Austin Colleen. And Austin, in our second segment, we had David Rios, the amateur and pro referee, and I thought he was really great about telling us how much he loves the game of boxing. That's why he's still in it. And referees are needed, as I said, at every level. And sometimes people, especially these days, reactions to referees, football, baseball, basketball, it's always the ref's fault, right? You know, the ref, you know, even if the team missed a free throw or blew a coverage in football, it's the easy guys and the zebras, and in this case, the guys don't wear zebra stripes, in the boxing ring. But still, referees are easy targets, and I think, David talking about his development and how much, and I've watched him work, man. That guy is laser focused.
Well, like I said earlier, referees are no different than athletes. In fact, referees are athletes. And they all have their own style. And if you're a fighter, you're looking to pick your referee if you can. And obviously a 4-round fighter doesn't have that kind of authority. But at the main event level, obviously I would think Floyd Mayweather would love Joe Cortez because he really favored the fighter at long range, where Tony, I can't think of his last name, he's another famous referee.
I know who you're talking. I know who you're thinking about. I can't think of his last name either. Yeah.
He allows all kinds of infighting. So if you're a rugged brawler, you want, I still can't think of his name.
No, his name's on the tip of my tongue
but
as well.
But you want him as your referee because he's going to let you rumble on the ropes.
One of the things that you brought up, and I think it's a good point, they used to worry, Frazier would worry when he fought Ali what referee they were going to have, because Ali would grab you on the back of the neck, and all night long you're trying to,
Tony Perez, the referee,
Tony Pettis.
He let Ali get away with murder.
Yeah, so Frazier's camp would always complain about that, because he's grabbing you right behind your neck, and hardly anybody stopped that. They wouldn't stop that, and so Frazier all night.
Tony Perez wouldn't stop that.
No, and okay, so you mentioned some other names. Arthur Mercante.
He refereed the first fight.
Mercante, one of the best referees there ever was. Carlos Padilla refereed Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, the first one in Montreal. And Leonard's camp didn't want him there because they said they didn't stop Duran from holding a lot. Duran held, and they didn't want. Padilla would only touch your gloves. He wouldn't break you physically, he'd touch your gloves.
But Leonard elected to fight in close himself. He didn't try to fight a
Wrong strategy the first fight.
Right.
Second fight.
Well, the second fight, they made the rematch within 5 months, and Duran had gained about 40 pounds and had to lose it. So when he got into the ring for the second fight, he was washed out.
You know what? I went to the pit. I remember I went to the first fight. I paid 25, and I paid 25 for the second fight. And boy, was I mad. I still, to this day, Roberto Duran is still one of my favorite fighters of all time. And who knows what happened? They had that 30 for 30 with Sugar Ray Leonard, no mas, and nothing really revealed. Duran's not going to come out and say, I quit. He's got too much machismo for that. So we'll probably never know.
Well, he lives in Panama, and he'll sit there and he'll take pictures with tourists. The sad thing is he blew all his money.
Of course he did.
So,
Roberto Duran I still love him. He's still one of my favorite fighters. Had a poster on my wall. Yes, of course he did. He blew a lot of, hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no doubt. But he's having fun. The No Mas, ESPN 30 for 30. Looked like he's still living life. Didn't look too sad. God, that'll do it for this edition of Legacy Boxing Showcase. We got a little film clip of Angel Babyface Pettis to show you. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Join us then. I'm Ed Nunez, for my co-host, Austin Killeen. Take care.
I've had 12, 15 fights without headgear. As an elite ranked fighter, the Olympic qualifiers, all those tournaments were without headgear, and I competed in those qualifiers. Everybody's trying to be an Olympic qualifier. So all the best of the best were there, and competed without headgear, and I feel comfortable, ready. When I get here, strength and conditioning is out of the way, since I get that done in the morning and midday. So when I get here, it's all skill and being precise. With the experience and training I have, I know what combination to let go, and if it's all done right, it's a nice combination. I got everybody behind me, and we're all going forward. Friends, family, everybody.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.